This is Impact Wrestling's Unbreakable Michael Elgin, and you're listening to the Wrestling Epicenter.
You're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio, featuring the Interactive Interview, courtesy of WrestlingEpicenter.com.
What's up, everybody? It's the Wolverine, the effing machine, Mr. GMSI, Brian Cage. Here you're checking out Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Welcome back to Interactive Wrestling Radio. On the Newsmaker line with us right now is one of the hot rising stars at Impact Wrestling. In fact, he's going to be main eventing at Slammiversary. He is Michael Elgin. Mr. Elgin, are you with me?
I am there.
It's such a pleasure to have you on the show. So you've been with Impact Wrestling for, well, since Rebellion. How so far, so good? How are you enjoying your time in Impact Wrestling?
You know, I'm absolutely loving it. I needed a change of scenery. I needed a change of pace, and looking at the landscape of wrestling and paying attention to the TVs and the pay-per-view products that were out there, I felt that Impact was going to be the place to be, and I think it is. You know, I think that the addition of me and the roster that they have is tremendous, and I think that, you know, we're doing special things on TV. We're going to do special things at Slammiversary. Rebellion was a heck of a pay-per-view, and I'm having the time of my life.
Absolutely. You mentioned the landscape of wrestling. You left New Japan Pro Wrestling, which is, you know, one of the biggest companies in the entire world, to choose to go to Impact Wrestling. Was that a difficult call for you to make?
You know, at the time that I made it, it wasn't, and right now it wasn't. You know, I'd wanted to be in Japan. I wanted to be part of New Japan for the most part of my upbringing, let alone just when I became a pro wrestler. You know, I remember in 1992, I first got a hold of a WCW pay-per-view because my friend got a satellite, and they had Hase and Hashimoto and Dr. Steve Williams and Terry Gordy on, and I was blown away by them. It was just so much different than what I'd seen because Canada was predominantly a WWF territory, so it looked real to me, and I was just amazed, and then that got me into Japanese wrestling. So you're talking, you know, 92 to 99, 2000, 2001, I was just a fan of Japanese wrestling and thought it would be awesome to wrestle there, and then I started my training, and then I started having matches, and my goal was always, the first step, I always wanted to go to Japan. You know, I felt like if I was ever going to make something of myself, I was going to take the route of the Eddie Guerreros and the Chris Jerichos and the Dean Malenkos and be a world-traveled wrestler and just be respected for what I could do in the ring, and that's how I'd get opportunities. So that was the main goal, and I accomplished it, and I did very well with New Japan. They treated me very good. It's a great company. But I just felt that it was time to move on. I felt like they didn't see me as a full-time top-of-the-card guy. They saw me as somebody that could be at the top of the card, but just here and there. And I'm the type of person that wants to succeed for myself, wants to succeed for the company, and I just felt that if they didn't see me as a full-time main eventer, only a part-time main eventer, then I needed to walk away, and on my terms, not on their terms. So I decided to leave, and then I looked at the options that were on the table, and Impact was the place I wanted to go.
Absolutely. You mentioned that, and that reminded me of something Jerry Lynn told me a long time ago, that ECW never gave him a push. They just gave him a couple of quick shoves. And that kind of is what it sounds like you were getting with New Japan, that they were giving you shoves, but not a complete push.
Yeah, you know, and it's not so much just like the push. It's just that I felt that I had more to offer. And New Japan has become the kind of place that, you know, new toys are appreciated. I wasn't a new toy anymore, you know. They get their eyes on someone, they bring someone in, and they win the championship, and they have a quick run, and that's just the kind of how they've been doing stuff, you know. For instance, you know, Jon Moxley just won the United States Championship, which, don't get me wrong, I mean, he's going to put tremendous eyes on the product. He's a tremendous wrestler. I was on many shows with him before he went to WWE, and I always thought he was special. So I'm not downgrading the talent that Jon Moxley brings to the table. I don't want anybody to think that. But, you know, he debuts and wins a championship. It's a very like, oh, these guys are new toys. We're getting them from blah, blah, blah. We're going to bring them in. You know, they did it with They put the Intercontinental Championship on Jericho. Again, it's Jericho. That's a special case. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that these guys aren't talented or that I'm above them. I'm just saying it's a very, like, these are the new toys. Let's play with them for a while. And I felt like the longer I stayed there, the more I got pushed down for the new toys. And stepping away sometimes, makes the heart grow fonder on both sides. I feel that time away, if I ever want to go back to Japan, that there would be an opportunity because I wrestled there for a long time, and luckily I performed at a level that the Japanese fans enjoyed my work and want to see me back. So it was just time to, as I said, get kind of a new outlook on things and get that excitement back. And
very cool,
man, it's been a month and a half of just excited, like on the phone to Impact, like, hey man, like let's do this, let's do that. Like, it's just, it's reinvigorating the love. And it's not that I ever fell out of love, it's just sometimes that love took a back seat to other things that were going on, and now that love's at the forefront again, and that's a good feeling.
Very cool, very cool. Speaking of excitement, I don't think there was any more excitement in the building at Rebellion than when you came out to the ring after Brian Cage won the world title. I got to ask you, and if you can't answer this, that's okay, but how much did you know about how much pain he was already in when you went out there, and was there any reservations about, well, maybe we shouldn't do this spot?
I'd seen that he was in some pain. And it's hard to kind of move past when you have your mindset on doing something. And I knew that I was the right person to do something and not do too bad of damage to him. But in the same token, he just won the world championship, and I want the world championship. And when it comes to the richest prize in Impact, you can't really worry about anything else but that championship. So
absolutely,
as much as you a little bit worried, I'm also at the forefront of my mind, like, hey man, if he's out and can't carry the championship, who's better than me? And I'll fight him or anybody else on the roster to be so. So it's just kind of victim of circumstance.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I've always been envious of how physically fit you are, but ever since you appeared on Impact, your physical fitness is almost paramount. It's to a different level than it was before. What have you changed about what your workout regimen is compared to what it was before?
The big thing is I used to train for powerlifting. I was very based in powerlifting. My upbringing was powerlifting. My mom was actually, a powerlifter and arm wrestler. So it was a lot of just intake high calorie, high carbs, and lift as heavy as possible. And that takes a toll on your body. I feel like my age number is young. I'm 32, so I still have a long time ahead of me. But the problem is I started doing this, at 14, having my first match at 16. So it takes its toll on your body, and that 280, 290, the impact on your knees just wears and tears at you. So I felt that it was time to trim up a bit and cut the carbs and focus more on a bodybuilding style regimen in the weight room and up the conditioning. I take pride on being somebody who is in pretty good shape and is 240 pounds, but has the gas tank of somebody that's 160 pounds. I want people to go in there and expect one thing but get another thing. The biggest compliment I can get is if I get to the back at 240 and am fine to communicate with people. I'm not breathing heavy, but somebody who's a little bit smaller is out of wind. That's kind of like a pat on the back to myself, like, hey man, we all got to step it up, because if I'm going to do this, you got to do it. And that's kind of like what I like about wrestling. I like to bring a certain level of physicality and athleticism and ability that makes people want to step their game up. And I think that as talented as the Impact roster is, and as great as they all were before I got there, I think that the last couple TVs, they've seen that in me, and they see how motivated and passionate I am. And again, not that they weren't motivated or passionate, but I feel that that's helped them even take it up another level. And I think that anybody who's watched the last 4 or 6 weeks of TV have seen that the style is changing, and we're going to change it as a team, and I want to be at the forefront of that.
I agree. So yesterday I had the opportunity to speak to Rich Swann, and Rich said a very big compliment to you, and after just a few minutes of talking to you, I get it. He said, I don't think I've ever met anybody with a higher wrestling IQ than Michael Elgin. First of all, what do you think of that quote from Rich Swann? And what do you think about working with somebody who is considerably smaller than you, but you guys really tore it up there in the main event a few weeks ago?
Well, first, thank you for the compliments on the match, and that means a lot coming from Rich. He's such a talented wrestler, and that is a huge compliment because I take pride in that. I've said it recently. That another reason why I joined Impcat was the ability to talk, the freedom to talk. I've never been given that. I joined Ring of Honor, and I was given a manager. And as much as I love Truth Martini, I didn't have the opportunity to vocalize and talk and be in front of that camera with words. And then when I was single, they wanted me to speak in sound bites to use for video packages. And then going to Japan, they wanted you to speak simple English so that the Japanese people can understand the English that you're speaking, and then the translators can translate it easily. And that was an opportunity that I never got to show. And due to that, any kind of creativity or any kind of creativity or knowledge that I could put out there was all through my in-ring work. So it's been, this coming November, 16 years I've been wrestling. So it's been 16 years of working on that creativity within my work in the ring. So I've found ways to entice people and get them involved and have them react to the way that I wrestle. So I've really worked very hard to have a high wrestling IQ, and the fact that somebody like Rich Swann sees that and says that it might be the highest he's ever seen, and he's been to WWE and he's wrestled such great performers, that's, as I said, that's one of those shield of armors that you can kind of wear and be proud of because you work so hard at it, and other people seeing it, and I think that that's something that I bring to the table that I can really help grow with everybody within the company.
Very cool, very cool. So the company you're joining now is a little different than the company that there was a few years ago where they were pretty much in one place at all times. Now you guys are a traveling entity, and you guys are walking into the Lion's Den. You're walking into New York City, kind of like Frank Sinatra said, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. What can we expect from this weekend's TV tapings in the Melrose Ballroom in New York City?
Well, as I said, I think we're on a roll. I think the last 2 sets of tapings I was at, everybody has upped their game. And as I said, they're all phenomenal and all were great before then. But I think that, everybody wants to be the top guy. And when somebody new comes in, and especially with me and my mindset, I want to be better than everybody else. Not saying I am, but that's my goal. I want to go out there and I want people to go, God damn, I gotta up my game because Michael Elgin's here now. And they see that, they see the new person come in, and that new person works hard and puts the effort. Everybody goes, I'm not letting the new guy take my, have that match. I can have that match. And I think it's helped step everybody up. We just recently signed Willie Mack and Rich Swann for a long-term deal, so they're stepping up their game, which makes the people see them and step up their game. And I think right now everybody is firing on all cylinders, and we're all at the top of our games. That if you're going to miss these TV tapings, I think you're wild, because we are all just set to set the world on fire, and we're going to. So I think that if you're a wrestling fan and you like watching the best wrestling in the world, you better come out Thursday and Friday, because they're going to be phenomenal shows. And I know I'm going out there to have the best matches of the weekend. And if I'm doing that, that means everybody else is going to try to top me, which, that's the kind of wrestling you want to watch.
Absolutely, it sure is. So we just had, not to be a name dropper, but we just had Velvet Sky on last week, and one of her quotes kind of made headlines, and that headline was, WWE is no longer the end-all of wrestling. I mentioned you guys are traveling. I could be remiss not to mention the letters AEW and all the excitement around them. Ring of Honor is still a very, very viable entity. New Japan expanding into the U.S. Are we on the cusp of the next wrestling boom period?
Yes, and you know what? I think we've been on the cusp for it for a while. I think that people see it as more prevalent now, and that there's more options to WWE with people leaving WWE. But I know, in late 2015, I had to offer New Japan or WWE, and I chose New Japan. And I had some offers on the table when I decided to leave New Japan, and I chose Impact. Now you can make your own decisions, and I think that it's been like that for a while, that there's been quite a few people who have had offers on the table from multiple places and chose what they thought was best. So I think we've been on the cusp for quite a few years, but I think right now with the more with the Cody Rhodes and the John Moxleys who are leaving and making splashes in other companies, I think that makes it just more mainstream. But it's been kind of like that, I would say, for maybe 4 years now. 2015-ish, I think, it started to change, where people were realizing, like, hey, man, there's money to be made and promotions out there that are really giving us an opportunity to be seen, and people were making decisions to be happy and to help other companies grow rather than just go for the WWE contract.
Absolutely. And my final question is, and it's kind of picking that wrestling IQ, and this is something we talked about with Rich Swann yesterday. What does Impact Wrestling have to do to stay ahead of the curve of everybody else and stay the hot topic in the face of the things that we're seeing, like New Japan invading the U.S. the way that they are, and AEW's monstrous pay-per-view from just a few weeks ago?
I think that we have all the tools in place. We have the team, that is going to withstand everything. I think we have the team that's going to have the best matches possible and the most must-see TV. I think that the one thing that needs to happen is a more predominant TV network, just something that's more accessible for people. I know Pursuit has been really good to us. There's some hiccups, but that's going to happen, especially when wrestling's new to a channel. But I think if we can find a home that more people are familiar with and can know, okay, every Friday night at 10 on blah, blah, blah network that everybody gets, you can see Impact Wrestling. I think that's just going to put more eyes to it. And I think that's all we're missing. I think as we grow and as people start to recognize, like I see tweets all the time. I would say that I get more tweets in the last month and a half about the stuff with Impact than I did with New Japan. And that might just be the time difference. But I feel that there's a lot of good things going on in Impact, and I think that if people are watching, they can't not say how great the Impact team is and how great their TV is and how great their pay-per-views are. But I think if we had a more easily accessible TV, that we would just be absolutely unstoppable, and I can't see that not happening. I think with the product that we're putting out, with the boom in wrestling, like you said, we got WWE signing these huge deals for SmackDown and Raw. We got AEW going to TNT. I think that other television networks are going to see how popular wrestling still is, and there's going to be more of a market for that. And why wouldn't they go with Impact when Impact has been alive for longer than WCW was?
Right. That's that. People forget that. I was there the first night this company started. I've been a fan. In fact, it's been my number one company since literally June 19th of 2002. I love what you guys are doing. And I tell everybody, if you get the internet, you get Impact Wrestling.
Right.
And you're right. I hope people do, have the ability while they're sitting in their easy chair to find it maybe on the dial a little easier. But if they're interested in finding it, it's out there, and it's really a great show. So
I feel like there's still core wrestling fans that don't go to the internet for their wrestling. I think there's still core people. You can talk about stuff that maybe is going on in the Twitter world at a live wrestling event, and nobody knows what you're talking about.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I just think there's still a large group of fans that don't focus on, dirt sheets or Twitter or social media or even I can watch this easily online. They still, live events /TV is where they find their wrestling.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I've taken up as much time as I was allotted. I appreciate you taking the time to do this with us. Do you mind if I ask for just a station ID before I let you go?
Of course.
This is, the name of our show is Wrestling Epicenter.
Wrestling Epicenter?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You ready?
You want me to do the countdown? Yeah, I'm going to do the Wayne's World countdown here for you. 5, 4, 3, 2.
This is Impact Wrestling's Unbreakable Mike Elgin, and you're listening to the Wrestling Epicenter.